I have just recently completed Persona 3 Reload for the first time, and I'm here to tell you that this game is best played handheld in my review today. But before we get on to that, hello, John aka Chicken Fillets here. Now if you like JRPGs, Persona, and a wee Scottish guy talking about it, well please consider subscribing to the channel. Now by the end of this review for Persona 3 Reload, I will give this game a rating. Now in this I have three choices for the rating system. It is either play it, which is the top tier must own game, check it, well basically it may not be for me, but it may be the game for you, and avoid it, well come on, that's self-explanatory. Now let's talk the tale of the tape for Persona 3 Reload. Now this game was released back in February the 2nd, 2024, and it was released for PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, and Windows. Now for this, I completed this on the Steam Deck, and the model is a OLED model. Now Persona 3 Reload is the remake of the PS2 JRPG Atlas Classic. Now in this we follow our protagonist who moves to a brand new high school. Now upon their arrival, well, things aren't what they seem. Our protagonist walks past coffins in the middle of the street, blood soaking on the ground. He has discovered that he is in the Dark Hour. From there, our protagonist will join the Specialized Extracurricular Execution Squad. That is some title. And it will be up to them to discover the origins of the Dark Hour and to also explore a ginormous tower known as Tartarus. Now not only will you be doing dungeon crawling within Tartarus, you will also be going to high school where you will create bonds with your friends in the school, which will also help you in your journey to defeating the enemy. Because with the more bonds that you create, the more powerful personas you will be able to obtain. Now, in comparison to its modern predecessors, the likes of Persona 4 Golden and Persona 5 Royal, this is one of the darker entries within Persona. Now, it's not to say that Persona 4 Golden nor Persona 5 had some dark moments in it, but the story overall in Persona 3 Reload, it's pretty dark. Now I'll put my hands up in the air and tell you that the likes of Persona 1 and Persona 2, I've not really had too much exposure to those games. I do own them, I have tried a little bit of them, but I need to really get back to them. I have played the likes of Persona 4 Golden, which is one of my all-time favourites, and the likes of Persona 5 as well. So where do I see this story in comparison to those titles? Now honestly, I really like Persona 3 Reload. I really think that the plot in this is close second to Persona 4 Golden. And the only reason for that, realistically, is because, well, Persona 4 Golden is one of my all-time favourite JRPGs, so it takes a lot to get over that barrier. I honestly think that if you want a mature story, this is an RPG for you. Now, with the story aside, let's talk about the gameplay, as it's split realistically into two parts: the social aspect of the game and then the dungeon crawling. So let's talk about the latter, the dungeon crawling. So with Persona 3 Reload, it is turn-based combat where you will be using the power of personas to help defeat the enemy. Now your cast of characters will have an affinity with their personas. Now what do I mean by this? Well, for example, our protagonist can use multiple personas who could use the likes of fire, lightning, wind, ice. You see where I'm getting at? Now you want to find the weakness in the enemy and you want to take full advantage of this. Because let's say, for example, you come across an enemy with a lightning weakness. You hit lightning, well, your whole team's going to go out for what's known as an all-out attack, which will give out devastating damage. The combat of Persona 3 Reload is fantastic, and it is really, really addictive. And as your protagonist, he is able to obtain more personas throughout the gameplay. The protagonist as well will be able to fuse together different personas, thus creating more powerful personas in battle. Now let's talk about the social aspect of Persona 3 Reload, because when you're not dungeon crawling, your protagonist will be going to high school, hanging out with friends, or maybe doing a part-time job here and there. Now there is actually a rhyme and reason behind this. Let's talk about the hanging out with your friends, building these social links with your friends. Now what this will lead to, the more that you work at this, well, you will be able to unlock and fuse together more powerful personas. So working at these bonds makes a huge difference in the dungeon crawling aspect of Persona 3 Reload. But not every social link will be available straight away, because you're going to have to get your character to a certain level of academics, or maybe boost up their courage, or maybe they need to have a more charm around themselves. So they will have to work at boosting this with either going to the library and finding out more about the world and increasing their academics, working at a coffee shop and increasing their charm and courage with dealing with weird and wonderful customers. Now you only get one in-game year to do all this, so make sure to plan ahead with what you're doing. Honestly, I really like the social aspect side of all Persona games. It makes you really want to think, well, what do I want to do today with my character? Shall I make him increase his courage by going to the coffee shop and working, or should I go ahead and try and work on those social links? Now let's talk about the presentation when it comes to Persona 3 Reload, because this game is an absolute joy to look at. It certainly has taken a leaf out of Persona 5's playbook with the cel-shaded anime-style characters. The voice cast in this are fantastic as well, and you really love how they bring these characters to life. And I'll give a shout out to Junpei's voice actor. What a great job they do. The soundtrack has been redone as well, and it is glorious. You'll be bopping away to these pop songs in this game, jazzy beats. It's just amazing. Now, one thing I really want to make clear, and I cannot stress this enough, Persona 3 Reload for Steam Deck is Steam Deck verified, but there is one setting I highly recommend that you turn off to allow this game to run at 60 FPS throughout your whole playtime. If you go into the graphical settings within the game, please turn off reflections. This essentially turns off ray tracing within this game. Now the reason I had to do this, at the start of the game it was running smoothly at 60 FPS. However, I got to a certain section and the FPS started to tank drastically to about the 10 frames per second mark. Once you turn off the reflections, it will be buttery smooth at 60 frames per second. Now, at the start of this review, I made the bold claim that Persona 3 Reload is best played handheld, and I absolutely believe in this statement. As a JRPG enthusiast and a handheld gamer, currently you have no other way of playing this game handheld. Unless you want to talk about Persona 3 Portable, but that is a PSP title. This title surprisingly skipped Nintendo Switch, where it is the home of JRPGs, the Nintendo Switch, and I have played and completed the likes of Persona 5 Royal on the Nintendo Switch. I completed Persona 4 Golden on a handheld known as the PS Vita. That was a system seller. So why miss out this title? The Steam Deck provides a handheld version of this game. And if you're lucky enough to have the OLED model, my god, this game looks utterly gorgeous. I know another little tidbit with the Steam Deck and Persona 3 and how it generally runs. As I mentioned, it does run smoothly at 60 FPS once you turn reflections off. Now, battery life, I was getting around 3.5 hours playtime from start to finish on a full charge. I didn't mess around with any Proton settings, etc. I just played it essentially straight out the box. Now, with very little configuration that you need to do, this is why I'm saying that it is perfect as a handheld game on Steam Deck. On a personal note, I really loved Persona 3 Reload. I really do want to revisit it. Now there is DLC coming out for this episode, I guess, which follows on from the story of Persona 3 Reload, which again is a part of Persona 3 Fez's secondary story. The price, however, for this DLC is quite expensive, but we'll have to see what the reviews are like for that before I take the plunge. So with this all said and done, I think you'll know what sort of rating I'm going to give Persona 3 Reload. I am giving this a chicken fillets rating of Play It. I believe that this is an absolute essential game, whether you're playing it on the Steam Deck or whether you're playing it on the likes of PlayStation or Xbox. This has been one of the best releases of 2024, and it is probably one of the best remakes which have been made so far. But what I want to know is, will you be picking up Persona 3 Reload, or you may already have it? What were your thoughts about it? Let me know in the comments down below. Now, if you like what you're hearing and seeing on this channel, well, please help me grow it by liking, sharing and subscribing. And if you want to be kept up to date with everything Chicken Fillets, you know what to do, hit that notification bell. This has been John, aka Chicken Fillets, and until next time, tate bye.